Good morning, gentlemen. मैं हूँ आपका दोस्त मदन सिंह and I'm going to talk to you today about the India AI Impact Summit held in this year, that is 2026. It's a very important summit in the sense it was supposed to showcase the advancement of India in artificial intelligence, and lots of people came from abroad, from various places, and in fact, if I have the figures correct, 20 nations were attending this meeting, including the President of France and so many other important leaders. And of course, Bill Gates also came, though he went away earlier than for some other reason, personal reason. I think his name featured in the Epstein papers, and so he thought it better not to give the keynote address at the conference and left. But, gentlemen, the result of this conference has not been very good for India. कहते हैं ना कि बेइज्जती हो गई, इंडिया की इंसल्ट हो गई, and this was basically because of a university called the Golgotia University. Now, I hadn't heard of this Golgotia University before, and the first time I heard about it this time. But I do remember when I was a youngster, there used to be a Golgotia bookstall in Connaught Place. We used to supply books to the Air Force. I don't know whether it's the same Golgotia or somebody else, but there is this university, Golgotia, and it's supposed to be a center of learning, advanced technology, and artificial intelligence. And this university, through one of the professors, I think Dr. Neha, showcased a Robo dog. Now, this was supposed to show the Indian genius that, look, the Indians could make such a sophisticated item. And this Robo dog was the center of attraction in the sense was impressed. It impressed everybody with its actions. It could shake hands. It could do so many jobs. But then, it surmised that this dog is really a Chinese dog made in China. And the university had purchased it from China and has showcasing it as their own. So once this came up, it was a laughing stock, and the Chinese media began to hammer and tongs against India, saying, look, the Indians can't make anything of them by themselves, and they buy items from us and showcase it and say it's made by us, made by India. So a really storm began to blow, and Golgotia was in the dock. Later on, the university apologized, but that's not enough, because what had really happened was a great insult for the Indian intelligence and the Indian science and technology. Obviously, the Chinese were gleeing, and even the world was feeling, well, look, these people just can't make anything themselves. I fail to understand why Golgotia had to buy the dog. Later on it turned out that they bought it from the Chinese manufacturer, and they were showcasing it as a product which had been made by them. So that is all that went on. Ultimately, the government had to act, and Golgotia was expelled from the conference. This stall was cut down. And to make matters worse, the Congress party, a couple of their goons came dancing inside the venue where the stalls were there and began to chant slogans against the government. You see, well, I think dissent is part of democracy, but you've got to keep decorum, and this was a very poor show put in by the Congress party. I have no hesitation saying that it shouldn't have been done. But then, coming back to Golgotia, I think they were in the dock and they didn't know what the hell to do. So they started off by suspending, I think, the professor who had been making those announcements. I don't think she's really involved because she'd been told what to speak by the university. And then a look at the stall also shows that the Golgotias had a cork plane, a glide type plane, supposed to be a drone made of cork. Now, what it was supposed to do and what it had to do with artificial intelligence, nobody could understand, but it was displayed there. And when somebody asked Golgotia, what is this? They said it's a cork plane, and it's only meant to give an idea of aviation to the students. I mean, it's a very silly thing. Coupled with a dog, I think this university is in the dock. The government, I believe, has decided to suspend the recognition of the university. I think it was a step which is in the right direction. But then, every sword has got a double edge. And now, once you re-recognize the university, what's going to happen is the students who are studying, they're going to be very hard. It's going to be hard on them. They paid lakhs of rupees as tuition fees because this university was charging fabulous sums for their courses, and it's a very sad occurrence, I would say. Anyway, this points to a very deeper malice in India, a malice that India wants to appropriate a lot of things for itself in the Atamanirbhar and make in India, but they don't have the technology and the capacity to do it. Now, that's the hard solution. As you all know, the Indians have made the Tejas fighter here. It's a group, it's a fifth generation plane, supposed to be a fifth generation plane, but actually I think it's a fourth generation plane. Being a flyer myself, I can tell you it's a fourth generation plane. But the Tejas didn't fly for 2 years. Why it didn't fly? Because the Indians made the airframe, spent billions of dollars, didn't make the engine. And then they had to import it from General Electric in America. And because of political compulsions, the uh, engine was delayed and the plane didn't fly for 2 years. So this is the result of Atmanirbhar. You waste billions of dollars in making a plane and you make a plane which can't fly. And I'm reminded of an incident, when I was doing the Defense Services Staff College, we were taken on a study tour to HAL, the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, the premier aircraft manufacturing complex in India. And we were proudly shown that the Jaguar, was being made in India. It's an Anglo-French fighter bomber, very good plane. And the chief engineer proudly announced that we're making 92% of the parts here. 92%. I'm one of those inquisitive men, gentlemen, and I asked the chief engineer, I said, what about the 8%? He said those 8% are not important. I said, well, what happens if the 8% don't come? So he had to give a reply. He said, the plane doesn't fly. So that's the crucial thing. You make 92% of the parts here and the 8% don't come and the plane doesn't fly. What's the use? Now, I asked the second question, why couldn't you duplicate those 8%? Why couldn't you duplicate those 8% here? He said it's not possible. There are issues of license, of copyright and all that, and patent. We couldn't make it. I said, well, you could have just duplicated it, found out what the material was. He said, we didn't know the metallurgy. We don't have the technology to know what is the metallurgy, what is the composition of the metals which was used to make these items. So, gentlemen, Atmanirbhar is like a mirage, in the desert. You look at it, and that's what happened. And earlier also, when Pandit Nehru was the Prime Minister of India, there was an attempt for it to make the Hindustan Fighter 24. And there also it had underpowered engines and didn't serve the purpose at all. And ultimately the Air Force had to say goodbye to the plane. We don't want it. Now, the Air Chief has also gone on record and said that they've been asking for the Tejas fighters, but nothing's coming. They asked for 70 and nothing has come. And finally, the government has gone in for the French Rafale. Now, that's a good fighter, I would say. But again, it's a 4.5 fighter, not a fifth generation. And what happened to the fifth generation fighter? Indian fifth generation fighter. Gentlemen, what happened to the Indian fifth generation fighter? Well, it's supposed to be on steam in 2036, and that's 10 years behind China, Russia, and America. The Americans got the F-35 already airborne, it's doing a wonderful job. And the Russians got the Su-57 and the Chinese got the Chengdu, the J-20. Their fifth generation fighters already operational, and India says they'll get their plane ready by 2036. So it's a bit of a joke, the Atmanirbhar. I think it's wasting billions and billions of dollars for nothing, And now somebody was very proudly saying, we're going to manufacture the Rafale in India. So very nice. I think what's the use of manufacturing? Going to spend millions of dollars because if the French don't give you the key components and you can't manufacture them here, I don't think it's worth the effort. I think it would be better if India had followed the Chinese principle of Atmanirbhar, got the technology going, taken a few planes, made a prototype copy of them, what we call reverse engineering, because that is part of artificial intelligence, and then made their own planes. That's what the Chinese did. There's nothing original they make. They copy and they're accepted in the world. They don't bother about patent rights or something like that here. And the world accepts it. So India should have gone into that sort of technology instead of just doing nothing, and just talking of Atamanirbhar all the time, and it's very sad. For example, even the Apple iPhone is being made in India. Well, yeah, made in India in what way? It's only being assembled in India. All the parts, I understand, come from China. Same thing with the Samsung mobile. All the parts are coming from abroad, from Indonesia and other places, China, and then it's assembled here. So, any place you see, any field you see, the Indians have not been able to manufacture anything of their own. Look at the automobile industry. China is really producing about almost 20 million cars per year, and they're selling them. And what's India doing? We have got two big monoliths like Mahindra and Tata. They can't sell a vehicle outside. Though, of course, Tata's got some contract for 70,000 vehicles now in Indonesia. But that's a drop in the ocean. And when I travel abroad, whether I go to America or go to the Middle East, Dubai and Bangkok, I travel a lot, as you know, my job also says that. And I'm almost like a resident to the UAE. I don't find any of the Indian cars there other than the Suzuki, which is again a Japanese car. So what I'm coming to is that we only made one car. I remember, when I was flying offside, I saw it was called Badal. It was a three-wheeler car. I don't know who's going to buy that, and nobody bought it. And ultimately, that car, I don't know where it is. Maybe it's not even in the museum. So, gentlemen, we have to be very, very careful when we talk of Atamanirbhar or something like that. And I feel very sad when I have to make these things. And this episode of the drone leaves a bad taste. Hindustan की बेइज्जती हो गई है, and the Indian people have got a sorry figure in the world polity of nations, and people have doubts about the level of artificial intelligence which India can sustain or it can develop on its own. I hope, gentlemen, you're liking this video of mine, and if you like it, please share it with your friends and subscribe to my channel. Give your comment. It's very heartening if you keep on doing it. I've crossed 1 million views. That's very nice. But I expect more. I hope we'll reach 10 million shortly. In the meanwhile, gentlemen, I think I should say goodbye now to you all. I'm coming to the end of my discourse. I would call it discourse or something else. But the fact remains, this Atmanirbhar scheme or the Make in India scheme is a mirage unless you make something of your own by your own invention. We got massive investment and outlays in the National Physical Laboratories, and they haven't produced anything. I want to know what they produced in the last 4 or 5 decades. It's a big zero. I attended a course at the Institute of Armaments Technology in Pune. I don't think anything has been done other than giving some lectures here and there, no production, nothing. Our ordnance factories couldn't even manufacture a rifle. And we had to take the rifle and from the Russians and take it on manufacturing license. We claim we have made those rockets, but it's the missile which is selling abroad so much is the Indo-Russian missile. It's not a total Indian invention. So India has missed the bus. I think from the time of Nehru, we didn't go in for these things. Concentrated more on just politics, caste, language, and these are divisive forces in India. I've said so many times. But it's a sad occurrence, let's face up to it. This Atamanirbhar, more like a mirage, and a lot more effort required. It's not enough for the government just to pass a message, or have a resolution in Parliament. We're going to have Nirbhar spend crores of rupees without proper supervision. What is the use? China has already launched a spaceman around the world. They have space stations running. Where is India? And why couldn't India do it? And when they couldn't do it, it's very, very sad thing. I will say goodbye, gentlemen. Take care. God bless.